Welcome back to the All Out NRL Fantasy Podcast, or a massive round 12 coming up, mate. But before we get to that, we're going to be at the TUUBE Golf Day on Friday, the 13th of June. So there's plenty of tickets available. If you're a good golfer, if you're a bad golfer like me, or a good golfer like Dor, there's plenty of chances. There's plenty of chances for you to come down and join us for a beer for a whole day out at the TUUBE Golf Day. Tickets are just $80, and that includes your round of golf, a TUUBE attachable cooler bag, a hat, a stubby cooler, and guess what? The event is a full ball Ambro. So if you're good, you're bad, you're always a chance of winning with that format. Dor, I know you're a pretty good golfer, so I'm sure you'll be carrying our team.
Oh, mate, I'll try my best. I wouldn't say I'm a good... I'd say I'm a good golfer, but I wouldn't say I'm a great golfer.
Well, Dor, there's plenty of prizes up for grabs as well.
100%.
There's nearest to pin prizes from Golf Central, Vic Park, Golf Bunker, a City Cave, and Strixon. So if you are the closest to the pin on the day, you have a chance to get those prizes. But make sure to get your tickets. There'll be a link in the bio to come join us at the TUUBE Day. Plenty of beers to go around if you just want to play some golf, drink piss, and have a yarn with us. So make sure to grab those tickets. Dor, let's get straight into round 12 though, mate. Just buy, hold, sell. Or not buy, hold, sell. TLT.
TLT,
I'm
mate.
jumping the gun.
Yes. No, buy, hold, sell tomorrow.
Make sure to grab those tickets though. It's going to be a good day and we'll see you there.
Yes, definitely. 100% get those tickets. Will be an absolutely unbelievable day. I'm calling it, Cord. Hopefully the all-out boys can really...
$80 and you get all your piss for free?
Yeah.
And all of this TUUBE golf kit? Unbelievable.
Oh, unbelievable, mate. Let's just hope we can live up to the expectation, because you've now said that I'm a good golfer.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a bit of pressure on me, but that will be absolutely all right, brother. But yeah, let's get into these team lists here for round 12. There's obviously only a few games this weekend, rather than the usual amount due to Origin. So, look, let's get into it. Look, there's going to be changes deluxe here. Look, in terms of the Bulldogs, look, Blake Wilson is coming in onto the Sting.
Changes galore.
Yeah. I actually think I'm probably better off just going through the teams, I reckon, just because there's just that many changes, unless we really want to
Here, do you want me to Eminem this really quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
Stephen Crichton, Max King, Kurt Mann, all out on Origin duty. Jacob Carraz has an injury along with Silikai Fafita, also missing. The ladder leaders will look to find a new outfit on Thursday night. Josh Corrin returns from suspension. Lee Lepoi Hapai, is that pronounced correctly? Is that prop? Blake Wilson comes in the week. Bailey Hayward starts at lock, and Blake Taft lines up at centre. Jakey Turpin and Sam Hughes are the new faces on the bench for their first NRL games of 2025.
Sammy Hughes is back.
He's back. The fittest man in the comp, apparently.
Yes, he's back.
And for the Dolphins for this game, Jake Averillo will wear the number 1 jersey. Hamaso playing Origin. Max Figo comes into the centres. The loss of Tom Gilbert with a pec injury, 12 weeks I'm hearing. So Lemuelu promoted to the starting side, and Keeley added to the bench. Fine Fuiaki has been selected for Queensland, extended, but is expected to play. Did I Eminem that well?
Yeah, you did. You did. Exceptional job. In terms of fantasy-wise, I think Josh Curran coming back's really good. I wouldn't say go and buy him. Kickow, we did touch on him last week.
He was good,
buy, hold, sell, but he's been exceptional. I did touch on him as well last night and Monday night with Dor. But yeah, I think Matt Burton Cord's definitely one to look at this week. He's fallen a bit in price, $549K. Got 56 points last week, break even of 41. He's really dominating the kick meters now over Sexton. I think if you're really looking for a half this week to get into your side, I think Matt Burton is that guy.
Yeah, he is. He's getting 545 kick meters last week. The week before, 406. The other man that I wanted to touch on who has been exceptional this year is Isaiah Katoa. 746K now. He's just churning out elite scores. He hasn't got 76, 70, 67, 46, 60, 48 in the last couple of rounds. Only issue with the Dolphins, I seem to think we bring it up every week, is that round 13 they don't play. Yeah. So the more Dolphins you get in this week, the impact that you're going to have in round 13.
Yeah, but look, if you've got plenty of halves, like cover example, you've still got Cleary, those type of guys. Hopefully they back up. Then you might be all right to get a Katoa. But I just think Burton for me is a really good option this week. But like we said, we had Katoa and Farnworth as basically in our buy, hold, sell last week. They were our two major buys to get into your team last week. So look, I think you just continue on that trend and get those guys in if you haven't already.
I mentioned in my wrap that Jacob Carraz was injured. Look, it was a terrible week for buyer planning, to be honest. Jacob Carraz goes down. Max King gets selected for Origin. Dylan Lucas also went down with an injury, but has been since named this week, which we'll get to. What
Sunday
to do with
afternoon
Carraz?
was chaos.
Yeah, what to do with Carraz? He's a sell, right?
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks,
He's
I
gone.
think, for Kiraz. Yeah, unfortunately, I think, like I said last night on Monday night with Dor, I think you go straight to James Tedesco.
Yeah, agreed. 100% agree with that.
But, yeah, I think fantasy-wise, Cord, I think you're fine to wrap away for the Friday night game.
Yeah, the Eels, Seagulls, and like there's a glaringly obvious buy here with Tom Trbojevic. He had one of the worst games, I reckon, in fantasy history for Tom last week with 2 points. So look, Dor, you could probably get a break even here, but he is averaging 26 points this year with an injury-affected year.
I'll test my memory off the top of the dome. I'm pretty sure it was 60-something. Yeah, 65.
All right, here's a hot take for you all. If Tom Trbojevic doesn't get 50-plus here, I'll quick sell Cleary next week.
Quick sell Cleary next week.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
He's versing Para. Good
Yeah,
matchup.
there's a few-
Para's
few
depleted
players
without
out.
Moses. We know they struggle without Moses. Tom Trbojevic, 80 minutes at fullback, 50-plus. Please, thanks, Tommy.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Look, I don't hate going and buying him this week, but I reckon you can get him cheaper next week. I don't know if he's going to get 65 this week. Hopefully he gets 50-plus for you, Cord, after that take. But, yeah, for me, I'd be waiting a week. But let's go through the teams and then we'll discuss the fantasy
Eels
implications.
obviously missing Moses and Lomax in the Blues camp. Blackline Reef shuffle sees Dean Hawkins in for halfback. Sean Russell moves to the wing and Samrani back at the centre. Tulagi returns to some suspension and Moretti to the bench. For the Eagles, Jake Arthur will steer the ship with Maroons captain Daly Cherry Evans. Absent, Jazz Tavanga shifts to lock in place of
my
Jacob
Jazz.
Trbojevic. That's great news for our Jazz owners.
Yes.
And then
You and
veteran
Supercoach
lock.
and me in fantasy.
I wouldn't call Matt Lodge a veteran prop, but he returns on the interchange this week for Manly. Lachlan Croker makes his return from a knee injury
that's
on the
big.
bench. So that is sort of big, I guess, when those Origin stars come back. What does that sort of look like? And the other news here is that Olakau'atu will be released to play for the Seagulls as well, which is good news for owners.
And Toby Turbo is captaining Manly this week. So
Man,
that is...
it all reeks of 50-plus.
It does reek of 50-plus, actually, now that I think of it. But, yeah, I reckon we can get him a bit cheaper next week. But, look, fantasy-wise, Cord, our Jazz Tavanga. Look, I did say on this podcast I was going to get him in a couple of weeks ago, and I did just that, and I think he's made 90K already. 54 points on the weekend, break even of 8. He would have played more minutes, but unfortunately suffered or had to go off for a HIA check, which thankfully he passed. But yeah, look, now Jake Turbo out with concussion this week. Olakau'atu could potentially maybe get picked in game 2. I think the only thing that could be a bit of a worry is just Lachlan Croker coming back, because Jazz did play 9 last week. But for me, I just think it might be a bit too late to grab him, get him in your side. Just with he's not playing 80 minutes. He's not a big minute player. He's playing around like 50 minutes and getting around 50 points. So look, unless a heap of injuries come Manly's way, I don't think go out and get Jazz. If you want to, you could.
I would get Jazz as well.
But look, definitely great for those guys that jumped on board, should I say, like
Get
myself,
on board.
A few weeks ago. Otherwise, for Manly, look, if you held on to, we just touched on Tommy Turbo. Look, Garrick's a solid option. He was good last week for Manly. I know Ben Trbojevic had a blinder last week, but I wouldn't recommend anyone to go and buy him this week. He's been, if he has a good week, he normally goes back to around like a 30, 40 point score the next. Olakau'atu, if you've still got him, definitely hold on to him like we do. Eels-wise, it's great to see Riley Smith named. Went off early last week with that. We didn't know what it was, but thankfully it was
Some
just
sort of injury.
Yeah, a corked calf. So he's back, and that's good. Katoga's been outstanding, Cord.
Yeah, he has. I mean, we thought he was having a bit of a rotter to start the season. Now he's sort of flicked the switch, I guess, and has bounced back well. It was a good hold.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said last night, back-to-back, I think 50 plus scores for Katoga. So that is unbelievable, especially for us that held on to him. I think really caught the one man. If I want to give a pod, I did say him last night, should I say, is Josh Addo-Carr. He has been...
That's left field.
Yes, Josh Addo-Carr has been absolutely outstandanding thus far this season.
He actually has been.
582K, 50 points last week. He is really back the Fox, and break even of 20. Look, I'm backing a big performance here from the Fox, Josh Addo-Carr. I'm actually really tempted. I don't really need a wing fullback, but I'm really tempted to bring him in, like sell Egan and go straight to the Fox.
Well,
but
I'll run you through your stats here. Since round 7, 58, 68, 59, and 50, and there's 2 games there that don't include tries.
I know he's been gobbling the Fox. So if you need a wing fullback, get him in. Last thing, like I said, Yongi, just definitely hold on to him, Cord.
Yep.
And otherwise, that's really it for fantasy-wise or fantasy implications for that game.
Yeah, Panthers Knights, lots of changes here, considering a lot of Origin players. Brad Schneider into the halves, Nathan Cleary. Dane Laurie's a new fullback with Dylan Edwards also in the Blues camp. We were hoping Tom Jenkins would get that spot, but he gets the wing position. Case McLean also comes into the centres, which means that Tom Jenkins might not get much ball, but we'll see how that plays out. Captain's Isaiah Yeo will lead the Blues, so no Isaiah Yeo for there. And for the Knights, Fletcher Sharp has shifted back to fullback, which won't really hurt his implications, I wouldn't think.
No.
Tyson Gamble moves into 5'8", Cogger, new halfback. And other than that, the good news here is that Dylan Lucas returns to the back row and Thomas Kent goes to the bench, which is diabolical because I had him in my team last week in Supercage.
Yeah, Thompson comes back as well from a head knock to take over from the injured Saifidi as well, and Hetherington drops out. But yeah, look, fantasy-wise, where's Isaiah Papali'i? There's no mention at all about Isaiah Papali'i, apart from just the fact that he hasn't been named.
Yeah, he's just out.
I'm not sure what the go is there. We'll have to keep an eye on the templates to see if I can find some news, and I'll post it. But yeah, not great for Jenkins with McLean back. He flourished without McLean both times against the Broncos as well as against the Cowboys, even though against the Cowboys he only played 40 minutes including extra time. So, but still scored well. Look, as I said last night, and I'll say it again, if you've got players that are playing this week, don't trade them out. Unless you've got, say, 20 players playing this week.
Impossible, though. Impossible.
There's no point trading out a player. But like you said, Cord, the big news out of all of this, I don't really think there's any fantasy players that are really relevant in terms of the Panthers. I think if you've still got Lindsay Smith, he should definitely play, I'd say, close to 80 minutes. He'll play big minutes this week, Lindsay Smith. So if you've still got him, that would be good. But I'm not really going to say go and buy Lindsay Smith.
Yep.
Jenkins, hold on to him. He should still go all right. He plays. Knights, Sharpedo, he should bounce back. It's great to see him at fullback for this 1 week here. I reckon he could go large, the Sharpedo.
Yep.
Otherwise, like I said, Lucas, great to see him playing. Pierce Paul. Now, if you don't have Pierce Paul, you need a second rower. I said last night, I think the top 3 options are you got Pierce Paul, Kickow, and who was the other one? Hosking. So those are your top 3 options, but I really like Pierce Paul, even with Khan on the bench. Yeah, I think that's really it fantasy-wise for that game, Cord. Not really much to touch on there.
This next game is probably a bigger one than that one. Roosters Sharks. For the Roosters, 5 players on Origin duty, including Rob Toyer. So shout out to Rob Toyer there. We've obviously been watching him for quite a few years now, and it's just so impressive to see his journey after coming back from 2 ACLs. And so well done to you, Rob. Probably hurts a lot of people fantasy-wise that held him, expecting him not to play Origin. But yeah, well done to Rob. The biggest buy.
I don't care. I've still got him, but I don't care. I'm just so super stoked for him.
Good on him. I think the biggest buy out of this Roosters side is that James Tedesco wasn't named, and you thought
biggest buy of the round, I reckon.
Yeah, you sort of thought that might have been the case, but you just didn't know. But he's definitely a buy now. Mark Nwanga Tawaze moves into the centres, which is good news for him, I guess.
Yeah, it's not the worst. He's been going good at centre and as very well at wing as well. So it doesn't really matter for him.
Nat Butcher returns after 3 games out with a knee injury, but through the bench. Roosters really fantasy wise, nothing really else to touch on. Other than that, for the Sharks, Jesse Raymond has been named. Stone Street is facing 8 weeks out.
So Hiroti comes back in. So that's interesting.
That is interesting. He was sort of pushing to be a buy there. Tig Wilton is pushing for a return from a shoulder injury, but I guess the biggest buy from those ones is Nico Hines in the halves and potentially Hiroti if he keeps popping off.
Yeah, Fanua Blake's also a really good option as well. Probably the best middle to get in outside of maybe a Tarpany. So yeah, look, that's a really good option. Fantasy wise, look, we've touched on McInnes plenty of times. He's always a good solid option. For Noah Blake, look, Sharks, I don't even think have anyone playing State of Origin, so they've only got Stone Street out. Hiroti's a solid option, especially with Stone Street out 6 to 8 weeks. I don't think I'd go and get Hiroti this week. His break even is 44. He could go well. But, yeah, I think outside of that, Ero, we touched on him last week. He's a good centre option. Yep. I'd say probably you've got Farnworth and Ero there, and then Garrick. Those three are probably the best centre options to get into your side this week if you really need one. Hines has just been, I said it last night, he's just been plodding along. He's basically been getting like 50s, 60s the last month and a bit. So he's been solid, so you can't be angry with that at all. Yeah, Roosters-wise, Cord, not really much outside of, the likes of everyone's probably still either holding on to Sandon Smith. You're going to hold on to him, same as Savala.
He'll be gone soon. Walker's coming back.
Smith got 44, so that was a pretty good performance from him. Savala didn't have the greatest games, only got 27. But I think we just keep milking them until they've crowed basically, and it's time to go.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, like you said, Teddy's the buy of the week. It doesn't really matter if he's, what their buy schedule is. He hasn't been named for Origin. I don't think Edwards is going to do his chances any harm, regardless of what happens on the weekend, unless he next Wednesday, should I say, unless he gets injured, of course. But look, Teddy, break even of 46, Cord. I really think, even though that the Cronulla have a strong side, like we said, Roosters play next week. They have the round 14 bye, Cord. That is basically it fantasy-wise for that. If you've got Sua Wong like we do, just definitely hold on to him.
Yeah, agreed. For the Waz, well, first off with the Raiders, no real changes here other than Hudson Young is out with the Blues. Zach Hosking proved to be a great buy, scoring on the weekend. So is Joe Tarpany. So there's probably 2 people there that you could bring in this week alongside Jamal Fogarty, who keeps plodding along nicely. And for the Waz, Aaron Clark is your main man there. Definitely this week with James Fisher-Harris out with a suspension and Mitchie Barnett on Origin duty.
Yeah, I think fantasy-wise for both teams, there's really the Leka Halasima has been pretty good. He should go well again this week. Played 80 minutes last week, and Kurt Capewell's now in the centres this week. 489K. I just don't know if he's really worth to say. I think you would have had to have had Halasima from a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't think it's someone that you go and buy this week. I don't hate it if you do go and want to buy Halasima. But I just prefer, go a Kickow or Hosking or one of those type of guys, a Pierce Paul. I know it costs a bit more, but I just don't know. I think Aaron Clark, he could be captain of the week this week. I think Aaron Clark is probably the guy I'm going to stick the C on.
That's a bold take. Are you willing to sell Cleary for him?
Sell Cleary for him. I think if Aaron Clark, if he doesn't get injured, I'll quick sell Cleary. If he doesn't
get injured?
I'm saying if he doesn't get injured, Aaron Clark should go well.
Okay, so
I'm saying if he gets over 55 plus.
Okay.
If he gets over 55 plus, if he doesn't, should I say, I will quick sell Cleary.
Okay, so if Turbo doesn't get over 50, I'll quick sell Cleary. And then if he doesn't get over 55, you'll quick sell.
If Aaron Clark doesn't get over 55.
I like that deal. I like that.
The thing was what I was going to say, Cord, is that, Aaron Clark, look, we were worried about his minutes last week with, Fisher Harris coming back from that suspension.
Yeah.
But he played 72 minutes last week. As we have discussed multiple times on this podcast, Cord, he's just played himself into the minutes. He's just playing so well that he deserves those minutes. The Warriors have won 5 games in a row.
He's been very good. And so have the Wires. I've proved a lot of people wrong this year, including me. I didn't give him a chance after round 1.
Metcalf's been good. He's now Daily M leader. So if you've still got Metcalf, hold on to him. I don't really think he's a buy, Cord. I'd prefer going someone like a Burton. I think there's a bit more money to be made there with some solid scores coming. Outside of that, for the Wires, that's really it. Halasima, Clark. If you haven't got Aaron Clark, you're really doing yourself a misjust, you
major
really
disservice.
Yeah,
it's probably too expensive now.
Major disservice. Yeah, it's probably
it's too late.
It's too late, blood. Look, Tamale, definitely keep Tamale if you've still got him.
Yeah,
had a solid performance last week.
45
points. So can't be upset with that. Xavier Savage really did set the world on fire last week, but is he going to do it again? Probably not.
He's very rocks and diamonds, Savage.
Yeah, that was his first hat trick in the NRL. So congratulations to Xavier. But yeah, just not going to do that every week. Yeah. I think the biggest talking point here for the Raiders, Cord, is Horsburgh. He wasn't named for the Maroons, which is very surprising. I know for the All-Out team, it's diabolical because we actually sold Horsburgh a few weeks ago.
Yeah. It's diabolical.
For those that sold Horsburgh thinking that he was going to be a shoo-in for that Maroon spot, unfortunately, that's not good. He is, named to play and going well. Smithies is another one I touched on last night. I don't think, even though he went really well last week, I don't think he's one to get into your side. And Sasungi's only going to benefit from Hudson Young being in Origin, so I don't think he's a buy either.
Yeah.
I think your buys there for the Raiders, if you haven't got Tarpany, a really good option. Horsburgh, look, I don't think Horsburgh's a buy. I think it's just it's unfortunate. Unless you've not owned Horsburgh at all and you want to buy him in for the first time, then that's okay. But don't go back to Horsburgh. I'd go like a Tarpany or a Fanua Blake if you need a middle. Otherwise, Cord, that's really it in regards to this week's TLT.
Yeah, I just want to give a pod captain. I'm going to go Turbo pod captain this week.
Okay. Aaron Clark's probably not going to be a pod captain.
No, he's probably not. But like I'm trying to continue my run of form of pod captains getting 50 plus here. They've got it every week. So those following closely to the pod captains. I'm going Turbo this week against an insipid Eels team without Moses and Zach Lomax. I reckon they're going to get put to the sword. And I just want to give a few sells because I won't be on the Buy Hold Sell podcast. Dylan Egan, obviously a sell this week. Carraz gone as well in my team. The other one that I'm thinking about selling is Jackson Purdue. I think the experiment at half didn't really work. And look, it's probably jumping the gun a little bit. They've got the West Tigers next week. So definitely can hold if you want. But if you want to move him on to a gun this week to fill a spot for your team, there's definitely an option there. And for those that are saying, well, he plays round 15 buy, if you've got Herbie and Dylan Lucas in your centres, they also play that round 15. So you're doing yourself no harm in there in selling Purdue either. It's probably what I'm going to be doing regardless. So if you play him in head-to-head this week, Ellis Marnie, I think it is, there's my trades, mate.
Yeah, well, did you mention it? Well, Egan's got to go. If you've got Egan, that ACL's gone.
Yeah.
So... yeah, he is, unfortunately. Look, if I got to give a pod captain, I am going with Fletcher Sharp.
Okay. Yeah, I like that call.
I don't think many people will captain him because of how Newcastle have been playing.
Yeah,
I'm captaining Aaron Clark, like I said before.
I think I will as well.
So, yeah. So you know what's happening there. And
I like that call.
You will see the video of me quick selling Cleary.
Yeah,
if he doesn't get that 55 points. But otherwise, Cord.
Yeah, make sure to buy your tickets for the TUUBE Golf Game. We'll be there.
Yes, make sure you get the TUUBE Golf Game. And another thing we should really discuss before we end this podcast, Cord, is about the you have to actually play your players in your 13 this week.
Great reminder, Door.
Yeah, because you can't really do. I don't really know if you can do those like the loops because basically you've just got to basically fill those starting 13 positions. So I don't really think you can loop unless it's I don't know. I can't really remember, but I'm pretty sure they've got to be in your 13 to play I don't know if it's like if you accidentally forgot to do your team and you left a center on the bench and that you've got a center that's in your starting team that they go into it. I don't think that's
not exactly sure how the loops work there, but look, if you're ballsy enough to try it and give it a go, let us know how you go. And we'll gladly take that on for 15 and 18. That's for sure.
I don't think that unfortunately is going to work. I think you've got to have those players in your starting 13. It did actually. I'm pretty sure I got a notification when I logged into Fantasy this afternoon. Cord. It said, here for round 12. Only 13 players in on-field formation are included in your team's round score. Auto emergency applies. So I think what that means is that, like I just said, if you've got a center on your bench, they don't play. Or, well, you say, I don't know, you lost reception. You lost phone reception. Your center is on your bench. And you've got someone that's not playing in the center, I believe that he'll come in at the end of the round.
That should work.
But look, regardless, don't even worry about that shit. No. Just put your players in the starting 13 and we don't need to worry about all that rubbish. Look, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to really fill a full side. How's your team called looking? I know the all-out team's looking actually pretty good. I was discussing that last night. We've actually got, just having a look here, we have got... actually doing very lovely with that news. We've got 12 players playing at the moment. We need a middle to complete the 13, but we do have, at the moment, Lucas and Iongi. So we technically have 14 healthy players out of a possible 13. But the problem is we're not going to be able to play 13 unless we get a middle. So
look, I'm not in that situation at the moment. I haven't really planned for this buy round at all, which is terrible. Cord. But I've got 10 at the moment and a lonely Patea from from the Panthers, who many of people won't even know. So I've basically got 9.5, if you want to say that. So there will be some trades made this week. I've only got 19 trades as well, so there's going to be 16 trades left after this week, which could be diabolical, could be not. But
you get those 8 trades in round 20 chords, so you've got something to look forward to, as well as Christmas at the end of the year. But look, I got 11. So I'm pretty happy. Toya being out is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, it sucks.
But I'm probably going to get rid of Dylan Egan this week for someone. So I should be able to get or have 12 players this week. So I'm pretty happy with that. Aaron Clark's already got the C on him. Ride with me, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, we will see you next week for round 13s. Well, it's another big round. I know it's not a major buy round, but it is a big round next week. So we will see you then for round 13s, buy, hold, and sell, and TLT.
See ya.
See ya.